Franchise Nutrition and Fitness. My name is Ryan. I'm a registered dietitian.
I'm Matt. I'm a certified personal trainer and health coach.
And together we are Franchise Nutrition and Fitness. You can find us over at franchisenutritionandfitness.com. And if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't heard any of the previous episodes, you should go back and listen to the other ones. Share them with your family, share them with your friends. Help them help you. So that way you guys can be accountability partners together. And then also, if you want to go ahead and start working with Franchise Nutrition and Fitness, or maybe your family or friends want to, you go to franchisenutritionandfitness.com, scroll down to the meet and greet section, sign up for your free meet and greet to get started today. If you have any questions or comments on this podcast or previous ones, click the contact us link and we'll get back to you, or we'll mention them in this podcast and hopefully give you some future answers.
No, hopefully we will. It's a guarantee for the podcast, right? Like you pay so much money for this podcast.
Yeah.
It's 100% money back guarantee for the podcast, right?
That is true. That's true. But I guess, I could always give you an answer. Like if you ask some kind of like very specific, you need a oncologist.
I was gonna say you'll give an answer. It's you need an oncologist. So you will answer it. Yeah.
I will refer you to who you need to be referred to.
Still an answer. So therefore we stand by our statement.
Yeah. I will get you pointed in the right direction. No problem. But speaking of all of those things, this kind of goes into what we were talking about today. It's really difficult to get pointed in the right direction if this doesn't go well for you.
Absolutely. And sometimes stuff just comes to you. And like we talk about different subjects of stuff to talk about on the podcast. And this came to me this morning during my workout, my own personal workouts. This is a very personal anecdote for me. So we always prioritize our food. We always prioritize our exercise routines. And I find that with a lot of people I work with, and a lot of people, including myself, and probably for you, Ryan, because you have a family and so many other different things you have to take care of. And I know a lot of times in the wrestling business, we didn't prioritize this. we don't prioritize sleep. And it's such a vital part of our recovery process. It's such a vital part of our nutritional process, our fitness process, and everything that we do. But I was dragging ass at the gym this morning because I had an awful night of sleep last night. So I figured, why not on this podcast right now talk about sleep and how we can get a little bit better sleep.
Yeah. And I always say you are constantly in two phases. There's not a separation between these two, but you are always in a recovery and preparation phase. So sleep can help you recover from things, and it can also help you prepare for things. There are a lot of time people are going to talk about sleep and the quantity of it, which has its own positive and negatives with if you don't get enough of different things. But there's also a quality. So there's quantity and quality. You can have a quality 5-hour chunk of sleep. But if you had a poor quality, let's say 9-hour chunk of sleep, that might be just as good as the quality 5 hours. So there's like a sleep quality, sleep density, and sleep quantity kind of thing. Like, are you getting into that rapid eye movement or REM sleep? Are you getting deep into that? Because that is where a lot of recovery is made and a lot of positive preparation for your next things you're planning on doing.
Absolutely. And I know it's a different window for different people. I know the recommendation for adults is usually between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. And I know some people that function on less. I function on less a lot during the week, as much as I hate to. Definitely if I dip below 6, you don't want to be around me. It's no matter how quality it is. How about you? Like what's your sleep routine look like? What's your sweet spot?
Yeah. So to what Matt's saying, and sorry guys, it's totally true. If you have a significant other that's a female or you're married to a female, women really do need more sleep. So the studies are out, it's all over. Men need about 7, and women need closer to 8 to 9. So when you're looking at the quote unquote needs there. So Matt's talking about like functioning, like what is the minimum you can function on? My sleep currently is, I'm sorry, I'm doing some math. It's around, I would say it's around 6.5 to 7. on most days. And really it's all my own fault, just because I should probably go to bed a little bit earlier and I don't. But the other thing, so Matt was talking about like things that break up your sleep, like my older child. So I have two kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old respectively. The older one is currently like waking up randomly like 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. It's like right before my alarm's going to go off at like 5:30. And my kid is like screaming down the hallway because the light isn't on. He's like, he's like terrified. He's like frightened. And so then I have to get up out of the bed to get him, to put him back to bed. And then often, like, there's a time, I don't know, a couple months ago it happened, and it was actually like 2 o'clock in the morning. I didn't realize it. I just started doing like the normal things. And my wife woke up and she's like, "What are you doing?"
You're just like into your routine.
Yeah. I was like, "Yes, it's time to get up." And like had a toothbrush in my hand. I was about to start putting toothpaste on. It was like 1:30 in the morning or 2 o'clock. And she's like, "Ryan, go back to bed."
Imagine how productive you could have been once you realized that you're up, like you're ready to go at 2 a.m. Don't have to get out the door till 6. Like, man, like think of the stuff you could do.
Yeah, whatever, man. That would be terrible. I mean, one of my coworkers, she always says, she's like, I wake up in the middle of the night, because God needs me to worry with him. So it's always the joke. She's like, so I just don't go back to sleep. And I was like, so then what time do you come to work? And she's like, sometimes I sit here at 5 o'clock and just like, well, I can't really see anybody right now.
See, like that's so unproductive. I hate it. Because there have been times like I love it. Like if I belong to a 24-hour gym or belong to like a gym that opens at like 4 or 5 a.m. Like if I can't sleep, I'll get up and go, well, I can sit here and toss and turn, or to hell with it. I can get up and go to the gym. So at least it's like productivity. You get back, leisurely start your day, have some coffee, watch a little TV. But I can't imagine just sitting in your office at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I ain't either. No way. But then though, so speaking about you though, if you did that, would your workout actually be quality?
It depends for me. Like last night, for whatever reason, mind's racing, a million different things. Schedule's a little bit thrown off, which we'll talk a little bit about being on a schedule, because as we're recording this, it's July 5th. So nice little 3-day weekend, threw off my schedule, a little bit more booze, a little more food. So I just didn't sleep last night. So yeah, in a case like that, no, like the workout's going to be complete crap. But there have been times where getting up a little bit earlier instead of tossing and turning for an hour, it did work out. So yeah, it's one of those case by case basis. Like this morning's workout was going to be kind of crap regardless.
Yeah. It's like we've talked about rate of perceived exertion, or RPE, all the time. Like this is one of those things where you would determine based off of your feeling, how you feel and how well you slept and all those things, that no, I will not be able to max out on any lift today.
Absolutely. Like today, like stuff that was normally an RP of 5 or 6 was an RP of like 9 today. Like it felt very strenuous.
Right. So like that, having a routine, having a plan is one of the things you can do to help you have a better sleep quality and sleep quantity.
Yeah, like I've gotten out of the routine, unfortunately. So I guess it's one of those things, do as I say and not as I do. But when I practiced a particular bedtime window and a particular wake up time every day, including weekends, like it's amazing what it will do for performance. It's what it will do for mental and emotional health. So like, going, okay, I am lights out in the bed, asleep at 11 p.m. and up at 7 a.m. regardless. It doesn't matter if it's Saturday, it doesn't matter if it's Sunday, it's a non-work day, it's a holiday. Like, so adhering and getting yourself onto that program can work wonders for you in a number of different ways and help your performance.
Right. So when we're thinking about sleep quality, that window that Matt mentioned, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., that's 8 hours. There's a really good study. It's in the American Diabetes Journal about if you get at least 7.5 hours of sleep a night consistently, that can actually help reduce your HbA1c. So like you can reduce your hemoglobin A1c by just getting sleep, because so much happens to your body while you're asleep. There's so much that occurs there. And setting a timer, you can set a timer to be like, I need to start getting ready for bed at X time, so that way your mind has the time to relax. Like your mind, like, is firing all the time. It's doing stuff all the time. You have thoughts racing in your head. Sometimes you need to remove those distractions in order to let your mind work through those thoughts and calm down to help you sleep better. And one of the things that I always I advocate for coffee and caffeine in general, but I always try to avoid caffeine. After like 4 or 5 o'clock in the day, and I might have like some tea or something at like 4 o'clock, which is going to be like a black tea. It's going to be like 45 milligrams of caffeine, but I'm not having like coffee at 4. I have coffee at 2, but not at 4. And that's just to allow my body to have enough time for all the caffeine to work through and out of me. Do you have anything like that, Matt, where you're like cut off your?
Yeah, I pretty much the same thing. Like I try to cut off all caffeine. I usually cut off like I've always heard, like 4 or 5 o'clock, and then like I try to cut it off even earlier. So I know I'll just keep allowing myself. So usually my last little bit of caffeine is like 2 or 3 o'clock. Like that whole old get that 2:30 fill in, gravitate, grab some coffee, grab some caffeine.
That's the last. About before that 2 o'clock coffee is like the time that I get up and I walk and I go get some coffee. And Matt likes to work out in the morning. I'm a workout in the afternoon person. So that caffeine at that time also helps me with my pre-workout. A lot of pre-workout supplements out there have caffeine and other stimulants in them. We're not going to go over any of those things, but you definitely don't want to take anything like that right before you go to sleep.
Yeah, if you're working out, you're an 8 p.m. workout right before your bedtime at 11. Yeah, probably not a good idea to start grabbing 300 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah, probably not. Like I've definitely had workouts in the evening before that were great, and then I went home and just went to sleep. But I did not ever take like pre-workouts late in the evening. Like it's just a bad idea. I don't need my heart racing while I'm attempting to sleep.
It doesn't really work out.
Yeah. And then
let your nightmares make your heart race. Don't make the pre-workout do it.
We all have plenty of those. I mean, just walk outside, right? So, but there's another thing too that we also advocate for at Franchise Nutrition and Fitness is booze. So while we all like to have a good time, if you consume alcohol really close to bedtime, it is likely to impair your sleep. You might feel like it's helping you sleep, but it's not quality sleep.
Yeah, that's always the problem is you get that kind of disconnect in your brain. You think, okay, like I have a couple of drinks before bed, it's good, it helps me sleep. But yeah, it's not the quality sleep. You're not passing out drunk and feeling good. It's a just very disruptive sleep, and you wonder why you don't wake up feeling recovered.
Yeah, it was always the joke that we made back when I was in undergrad that if you had consumed so much that it like you'd go to sleep and then you'd wake up like 5 hours later, 4 hours later, you're like, man, I'm fully refreshed. Do you think that it's depressing your nervous system enough that you're like kind of partially asleep while you're drinking because it's so depressed, you're so drunk that's kind of like the sleep, and that's why you only sleep like 4 or 5 hours? No, that's actually not true.
That doesn't sound scientifically evidence-based whatsoever.
I mean, these are the conversations you have when you are drunk, not when you're
right. It sounded so good when you're 12 beers in, but
12 beers, couple Long Islands. 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, literally. So,
you have big hands.
Just carrying a platter, man. You just get a platter of booze just right here, ready to go. But yeah, so like you can have alcohol. Everybody can have alcohol. I'm not saying that it's not. Well, not everybody. You don't have any kidneys. You probably don't want to do that. But You can have alcohol and still enjoy your life and everything. You just got to be careful. You don't want it to
I
hinder.
feel like you should
your
put
life.
a disclaimer right there. Like
Like,
Ryan
put it
is
on
not a doctor. Like
yeah, Ryan is
anybody,
not a doctor.
everybody can have alcohol. Like,
I said unless you don't have kidneys, it's a bad idea.
or
Also, you
except
have
if
like
you have if you're an
liver,
addict.
liver
I feel like
cirrhosis.
there's like we just need like a running scroll if you're watching the visual one. It's like
These are all the things.
yeah.
I am not a doctor,
So
but it's true. I'm not a doctor.
everyone except these individuals can have
Yeah,
alcohol.
yeah. It's like, wait, hold on a second. I'm talking about like general population here, I guess. Well, although we're in America, so we got to watch out. General population might be a little bit different than what
There
it
you
is.
go. And if you're over 21, and if you drink responsibly, and if you're not, I've read anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, America's not at the replacement rate of people, so there's not enough people that are less than 21. That's a different topic for a different day, though. But still, it might give you those nightmares that affects your sleep quality. So think about the replacement rate and how people are just keeping older. But the
Ryan's dystopian future podcast. I like it.
the we're about to be living it. The other thing that like if you are, let's say, you go for a max lift, max whatever, doesn't matter what. So your body's in a peak level of stress, or you ran a PR whatever. So PR mile, PR 5K, it doesn't matter, whatever. Peak stress time. You had the hardest day at work that you've had in a really long time. Like everybody knows what that's like when your day at work just crushes you. Peak stress amount of time. Some people, and I'm not saying that, other people don't, but some people might think I really need to have a drink to help me out right here. That 100%, it doesn't matter where it is in the time, it will 100% dramatically reduce your sleep quality.
Been there, done that. I have plenty of anecdotal evidence to support that. Yeah, if you have that rough day, yeah, it's easy to go, I'm coming home and having a couple of drinks, and then you wonder why your sleep was so cruddy afterwards. Yeah, that makes
Even if you only have one drink, it's gonna like drop it down. Not even just a couple. Like that's kind of like your body's trying to recover from that stress that I was in, and that its optimum time to do that is when it is asleep. And you've thrown alcohol in the mix, which is decreasing its ability to repair all those things, which is further degrades your sleep and can also extend your fatigue. I was reading something earlier in preparation for this podcast that it could go up to 4 days later. That, like, if you put your body in that extreme state of fatigue and you did not add alcohol to it, you might recover in 2 to 3 days. But if you add alcohol to it, it might take you 4 to 6 days to recover. So that's kind of, when you're thinking about those dynamics, we should be elite level athletes for all the things that we did when we were younger. This is the joke. Everybody listening to this podcast knows that we both went to Georgia. Esquire magazine some years ago listed Georgia as the #1 party hard, work hard school because their GPAs were high, and also they were listed as like the #1 party school at the same time. And the joke that I was making with people at the time was like, see, if I hadn't had all that booze, I would be way smarter than I am right now. But I'm just really good at working hard.
It just proves I have brain cells to kill. So
yeah, apparently, I mean, I don't know. They don't grow back though. So parts of your liver could. So talking about like routines and things though, so that's kind of like a big kind of thing. I am a big fan and advocate of establishing like a pre-bed routine.
Definitely.
What do you do for your pre-bed routine?
So pre-bed routine, I've gotten out of the habit of it, but for when the sleep was better quality, to like make sure there was no TV, no nothing for at least 30 minutes before bed, completely lights out, having a little bit of like nighttime caffeine-free tea before, maybe a little bit of reading from a non-blue light source, or listen to books, a little bit of low light. laying down, sticking the headphones on, listening to some binaural beats. I don't know if you've ever used those before. It's fantastic. Where supposedly there's research that it changes your brain waves to be able to go to more of a sleep state. So you can look up different playlists and stuff on Spotify, amongst other places, but it was very beneficial. So to be able to do that, lights out, eyes closed, kind of a meditative state with that, and getting good quality sleep. So yeah, and then I get out of the habit of that and go, hey, I'm staying up late and watching a ball game, and then go and just turn off the TV and wonder why I don't sleep. So yeah, so there's a lot to be said for that routine.
Is that part of your nightmares, that the Braves somehow drop back from second to further?
It's definitely
Yeah. No, the Acuna's hurt again. No.
ACL. So I imagine your routine like is a lot different than mine, with having two little ankle biters to put in the bed. So what's your nighttime routine look like?
Yeah, so mine is a little bit different than Matt, but very similar. So this is kind of the whole thing. We're thinking about sleep quality, it's sleep density. I try to aim for a get ready for bed at 10:30. Sometimes things don't work out that way, but 10:30 is that way. I'm like asleep by 11, and we have curtains on our windows to help block out the light. I wanted blackout curtains. I didn't win.
See, like in theory, I love blackout curtains, but anytime I've had them, I just want to sleep for 12 hours because then I never know when it's daylight.
Yeah, so that's like you could get like a mask. I don't have a mask. You can get a mask or earplugs to also help out with sound, to block out sound, which is different than what Matt was just referring to. But if you need like a complete like isolation chamber, that's the closest you can get. Typically, would be a mask and some earplugs. But 10:30. So things that I attempt to do, don't always do. Not always successful, but no electronic devices. So you can read for 10 minutes. That's a personal goal of mine, just like reading for 10 minutes. And not like a number of page count or like chapters or whatever, just like 10 minutes of reading something that doesn't have a light source to it. So like a book, paper. Matt and I love comic books. It could be a comic book. It could be like graphic novel. It doesn't really matter. To something that's not emitting light for the 30 minutes prior to bedtime. And then also one of the other things that we always do is before we go to bed, so we do it for our kids too, but when we put them to bed, we drop the temperature down on the AC down to 70, which is like the happy middle ground for my wife and I. She doesn't want it much colder, but if you can make your room cold and get it closer to 68, like I'm a very fine creature and I have very specific things, like 68 to 72 is like a comfortable temperature zone to me. If it's greater than 72, I'm definitely
the same way. I'm drenched and sweating. Yeah.
So that doesn't fly. But if you can get it down to 68, that would be really good. There's other solutions too. Like people have like these cold bed things. We don't. But we turn the temperature down to 70. I try to avoid any light source for 30 minutes before bed. And the clock in our room. So this is a really random kind of thing. The clock in our room, we used to have a different one that had green LEDs on it, or the lights are green that are like the digits. And we switched out for one that has red because that is a lower light wavelength that doesn't produce as much light. So that helps the room be darker. And which also is part of the effectiveness that like when it's bedtime, all the lights are off. Like it's not like you're going to be able to find your way in the room, but all the lights are off. And the no phone thing, the light from that, I think is the biggest thing that people have a problem with.
Absolutely, and it's always so easy. Like even if you just wake up in the middle of the night, because I'm guilty of this at times too. It's sitting there on the nightstand. It's easy to just go over. I'm gonna check my Why? Like, why at 3 a.m. do I give a shit about who's messaging me? But like, it's disrupting, going to disrupt my sleep. I've got that blue light shining right there in my face. So yeah, I do know people who make sure that their phone is outside the bed and it improves their quality of sleep tremendously.
Yeah, I use my phone for the alarm that's on it, but I make sure to. I have like a do not disturb feature on my phone that uh, automatically goes on at like 10:50, I think is what it automatically goes on. So then it doesn't uh, come on. It doesn't trigger any notifications after that. And I turn my phone face down so that way if light
Yeah,
comes out of it,
I
it's
like that. Yeah.
blocked out. You have it face up, that light comes on, boom, that's a notification that you are now going to get crappier sleep. So try and avoid the light that's in there.
So did you base your bedtime off of your wake up time, off of what when you have to be up, or is that just like kind of your
Um,
natural?
yeah, that's a good question. I based it on the time that I needed to wake up, and I counted backwards. So that way,
Right.
I'm trying to get to that 7.5 hour thing. But a lot of times, like my kids go to bed at like 8 or like 8:15, 8:20. You know, like it's just kind of a habit of the beast. And that 3 hours or so, 2 or 3 hours after that, that's like the time that I get to spend with my wife. And so I try to do that every day. And so that's kind of the other thing, trying to have time to be a good husband. So
Yeah, finding that balance of like being able to take care of a spouse, take care of kids, and take care of yourself, and then still get an adequate amount of sleep. And yeah, like that's why I wonder. Like my window ideally is 11 to 7. If I can get up at 7, get my workout in, awesome. But that's not my case now. So like I have to get up at 5, between 5 and 5:30 to get my workout in. But sometimes it's still geared towards that 10:30, 11 o'clock. So I don't feel like I'm getting enough sleep. So yeah, I'm always intrigued of ways to change that. Because in an ideal world, if I'm getting up at 5, I'm in the bed at 9. But that doesn't happen.
yeah. Oh, random nutrition thing. So since we're talking about stuff, I don't currently do this, but if tart cherry juice is like this superfood. It's got quercetin in it, um, which can help with your VO2 max. But it also has melatonin in it. Is the tart cherry juice, and it also has some other vitamins and minerals and anthocyanins. But we can go on forever. But if you have an
All kinds of good stuff.
a lot of good stuff in tart cherry. If you have an ounce of tart cherry juice, you can pour it into a glass of cold water, or you can have a cold water to chug right after it. Personally, I don't really love the taste of tart cherry juice straight up, but an ounce of it can about an hour before your desired bedtime will help decrease your core body temperature and help with the rhythms of uh, chemical release in your brain to help put your brain into a deeper REM sleep.
Yeah,
So
Ryan was telling me this before we jumped on the podcast, and I wish he had saved it so I could give my genuine reaction because I had never heard that, and so like I'm ready to go rush out this evening and go buy some tart cherry juice before I
yeah,
go to bed tonight because that sounds amazing.
and it's only an ounce. Most of the bottles that I see in the store are like 12 to 16. So you know, like you're gonna get a good worth out of it. I know plenty of people that take melatonin for uh sleep aid. I can't say anything for or against it. I don't know.
Yeah, I personally take it if I'm already relaxed, it seems to help. If I'm already not relaxed, it doesn't seem to help. I'm one of those people that used to be on Ambien. That was fun. We have plenty of stories with that. Um, yeah, I would not advise personally Ambien to anyone. Like I didn't do anything super dangerous, but it would always be fun where I would wake up the next morning and I'd have like food wrappers and like beer cans and go to check the DVR and stuff would be deleted. And apparently I would stay up all night asleep and watch my TV shows that were recorded and drink beer and eat food and had no recollection of it. So
Yeah,
it wasn't really good for like a cutting weight loss phase because I'm just sitting there munching through shit and like I had no
definitely.
recollection of it.
Yeah, which is the thing we haven't even mentioned that if you get like shitty sleep, you're gonna end up eating more during the day.
Absolutely.
That happens
Because you're constantly craving stuff. Like it's an easy way to stay awake. Because I know, like I talked about at the beginning, like we don't prioritize in pro wrestling like getting sleep. Everybody's like, eat right, hydrate, work out. Oh, I'm a road warrior. I got 2 hours of sleep over a 56-hour period. It's like that's not healthy. But like,
okay,
so you're sitting there and you're
another 12-hour drive.
exactly like, and so you're just munching on candy and pounding energy drinks and eating chips and like everything you can just to stay awake. It's awful.
It's paying your dues. Yeah, this week I told all the time, you gotta pay your dues. Not whatever. But with that, if you're trying to reach any goals or anything like that, one of the things that we always work with on our clients that we talk about is sleep. It's such a pivotal piece to making sure that you can achieve the goals that you want, whether it's fitness related or like a life related goal. Like if you want to get a job and you got to go for an interview and you don't sleep well before you go to that interview, chances are that's going to hurt your interview. So it's a very nervous time, but setting up a routine can help you more adequately get to the sleep. You would still be nervous and everything, but if you're in a routine and it's consistent enough over time, when you start moving into that routine, like you start your 10-minute read or your 10-minute stretch time, that triggers your body's response to be like, oh, this is me cooling down to go to sleep. And so that'll help you out with anything like stressful that you have upcoming. There's another like really random thing that I wanted to point out. They did, I can't remember who did the study. It's a company that does tracking of stuff like with like the wearable trackers. But they had like big thing with like Olympic athletes where they tracked a lot of them, and their sleep, if they before they knew that they were not having, they tracked them and then they're like, okay, these are the results of your sleep quality was really bad. The athletes went back and they worked on their sleep routines, improved their sleep routines, and all of their events, across the board, everyone improved. So just working on your sleep routine, even for an elite athlete, can help them shave off time, which means for the rest of us, if like I'm not an elite athlete, but me improving my sleep quality is still going to help with anything that I have upcoming. So it doesn't really matter what it is, just getting quality sleep is going to help you out.
Yeah, definitely. If it's good enough for an elite athlete, it's good enough for me. Yeah.
Yeah. But either way, so those are all the things that we have, the suggestions that we have that help you improve your sleep quality and your sleep density. So if there are things that you do that we didn't mention on here, let us know. Go to franchisenutritionandfitness.com, head down to the contact page at the bottom, shoot us over. What are the things that you do to help you improve your sleep? And let us know also on the social medias and all those things. You can link with us there, share this podcast with your friends, and sign up for your free meet and greet. We can go ahead and start helping you out with your sleep and also your nutrition and fitness. So that way you can reach all your goals. Remember, maximize every bite, maximize every rep.